Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, we are recording.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, so yeah, so we can go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you can stand, please do, and we can do that. Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, liberty,
with liberty and justice for
all.
All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, so here's our agenda for the night. So we have a packed agenda. So we're going to start off with just some updates from the executive board of the club, and then we'll go to the county committee, the municipal committee, and elected officials who'd like to provide an update. And we're also very excited to have Bainy Suri here, who is our guest speaker from the New Jersey Environmental Lobby. And she's going to be speaking with us tonight about her work in environmental advocacy. And we will have time for questions after the talk, and even during. You're welcome to either raise your hand if you want to say something, or you can type your question in the chat and send it to me as well, and I can ask the question. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I have a few slides here for my update. So, oops, sorry about that. So first, I wanted to just say that as a club, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of India right now as they face a surge in COVID-19 cases amidst the shortage of medical supplies and capacity. I'm sure you've all seen the news, and we have a vibrant Indian community here in Robbinsville, and we just wanted to express our support, say that our thoughts and prayers are with you and the loved ones back home. And we're really, our club is committed to providing support in any way that we can. And actually, Kieran, who is our treasurer, I think organized a fundraiser, which he may speak about when he gives his update. Okay, so now I just wanted to say a big thank you. So we've been doing a lot actually on the charity front, and you guys have just done an excellent job. So organizations like this don't accomplish much with their membership participating, and you've all done an amazing job. So we've had 3 initiatives. We've planted 125 trees through One Tree Planted. That's $1 a tree. So that's a lot of trees. You're going to do a lot of good for the environment. And we've collected over 450 diapers and about 500 wipes collected for Homefront. And that's incredibly important. As I mentioned at the last meeting, 1 out of every 3 families has trouble affording diapers. That's really important, especially right now with the current economic conditions that we're facing. We've also raised $500 and awarded a $500 scholarship to an RHS student. And so this was twofold. We managed to raise the money from you guys, and also we had a pretty involved process evaluating numerous applications, and want to give a shout out to Linda Carroll, Sonia Walter, and Susan Silva for evaluating those particular applications. And so that has been awarded, and so we're very excited about that. So now we have a list of upcoming events and initiatives. There's a lot going on, so just bear with me here. So on this Saturday, we're going to have a lunch and hike at Mercer County Park. It's going to be at the Eastern Picnic area. That's near the campgrounds. So just make sure you look it up on your GPS before you head over, because there are a few entrances. But it's one of my favorite places. There's a nice little hiking trail. So we're going to get together in person for the first time in over a year, and it's going to be very informal. Just grab, eat lunch on the picnic tables and then go for a hike. We're also planning a Juneteenth celebration on Saturday, June 19th at 7 p.m. And we hope to have that in Robbinsville in person, and that location is going to be determined. On that note, if you're interested in helping us plan that event, we need some help, planning that event. So if you're interested, let me know in the chat. We're also going to help organize a Wear Orange Day. It's going to be hosted by Moms Demand Action Mercer County, and that's on Friday, June 4th, 5 to 7 p.m. at a location in Robbinsville in person. There's also tomorrow night something really exciting. There's an activist education forum, and this is put on by the Mercer Democratic Committee. I think Mayor Janice Smirnoff will talk about it in a few minutes as well. But basically, they're going to host an education forum taking place tomorrow over Zoom at 7 p.m. And basically, it's a series geared towards county committee members and other Democrats. I don't think you have to be a committee member who want to be active in their community. We have Robbinsville Community Day Committee. That's going to happen in September, but we have to do a lot of planning for that. So we're looking for volunteers. So the club's going to have a presence there. Rick Austin is heading up the organizing committee. So if you're interested in getting involved in preparing for that in-person event to sort of get our name out there and meet people, please let me know in the chat. All right, 2 more. Okay, so we have a exciting fundraiser for the Mercer County the Mercer Democratic Committee, and that's going to be on May 20th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. So special guest Governor Phil Murphy will be there, as well as the keynote speaker Rich McDaniel, and he is a longtime strategist, and he's based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and they're going to be talking about conversation on national voter suppression, which, as I'm sure are following the news, is incredibly important right now. So there's an effort to suppress the vote nationwide, in Georgia in particular. So we want to learn about that, and also support the local Democrats. So that's really great. And then last but not least, that we have voter choice NJ. So Speaker Veronica Queza, I think it was 2 months ago, did speak to us about ranked choice voting, and she is looking for volunteers from Robbinsville to spearhead a local ranked choice voter effort. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with me in the chat. I'm in trouble sharing. Excuse me 1 second, I'm sorry. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, that's the end of the slides. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Melissa. Do you want to take over and do you have any announcements or updates?
I think you covered it all. I mean, that was pretty much everything that we've been working on, which, as everyone can see, there's a lot going on. So there's a lot of opportunity to get involved, and we hope people will get more involved.
Absolutely, yeah. We're always looking for volunteers, and to make these things happen. And then I'm going to hand it over to you, Karen. Do you have any updates?
Yeah. Thanks, Brad. You covered it all, but I'll make a couple of updates. So the June 4th event, where Orange event, the venue has been decided. It's going to be the Township Gazebo. I spoke to Carlos today, so the approvals are in place. We don't need any documentation. I changed it to individual applicant, put it in my name. And the Juneteenth event on the June 19th will be in the Foxmore, the park in the Foxmore Park on Washington Boulevard, where we did the march and where we had the first the peace march we did last year. Those are the 2 events. And for the Juneteenth, I'm putting together a GoFundMe campaign to raise some funds which we may need to organize the event, because we're trying to get some African-American musician, like a steel pan musician, to make the event more interesting. And we're also working on getting a couple of speakers to speak during the event. Of course, it's going to be an open format. People can come up and talk. And lastly, I wanted to just provide an update of what I've been doing for the COVID situation in India. We have assembled a team of about 100 US-based doctors, and we are triaging patients. We have triaged over 3,000 patients in a week. And these doctors are all like full-time specialists. They take a couple of hours in midnight, because in India, when it is in morning, it's 10 p.m. Eastern here. And we are triaging about 300 patients a day. That's one initiative I've been involved in leading it. And the second initiative is we are raising funds to install an oxygen generation plant at an hospital in a rural area. It's a philanthropic organization which I've been involved with since I was a middle school kid. So I thought now it's the time to just give something. So the goal is to raise $125,000, and about 50,000 is being raised in India, and about 75,000 is being raised in US, and we have reached almost 30,000 as of today. So those are my updates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. That's really fantastic that you're working with that organization. That's right on the ground. If you don't mind putting that link in the chat for that GoFundMe, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll do
Wonderful.
that.
So I'm going to go ahead and go back the agenda, and so is anybody from the county committee, the Robbinsville County Committee members, anybody here would like to give an update? Okay. So I'll go ahead and I believe is Mayor Mironov here?
I am.
Awesome. You go ahead and give an update if you have anything.
Sure, Scott. Be happy to. So first of all, congratulations on that really outstanding set of events and volunteer accomplishments. I think it really speaks well to the Robbinsville Democratic brand and to your community spirit and caring, and you know how really active you've become over the recent years as a organization. We're proud to have you in our county. So congratulations to you and to all of the others. I think it's really wonderful. So you did a wonderful job of plugging our events, and I'm on, right? I'm totally on. Of plugging our events in the county. So I don't want to take too much time on them, but tomorrow, as you indicated, you know, we are excited. We're doing an activist education forum, and the idea is to reach out to our local county committee people and others who want to be active. And it's something people had been asking me over the last year or two to better understand what the municipal committees are, what the county committees are, the functions, how they can better engage in their communities and help support our campaigns. So I'm looking forward to presenting, but I'm also looking forward to understanding how we can, you know, best connect and be helpful and supportive locally. So that is tomorrow, Thursday, the 13th at 7 o'clock. And we did regenerate that. And thank you, Scott, for putting that up. And then on the event on May 20th, again, Scott, thank you. I think you did a good job promoting. I'll just give one more little plug that you know, we probably will just do 2 fundraising events this year. We've got lots of elections this year. We've got the entire legislature, Senate and Assembly, governor's race, and then here in Mercer County, we have the 3 commissioner spots, and we have Commissioner Sam Frisbee along with committee member Kristen McLaughlin and Terrence Stokes as an excellent team. And then of course, our accomplished surrogate Diane Jarofsky running. And we've also been very hands-on in the county to invest in our towns and to be hands-on and be supportive. And we've got races everywhere this year, except for, I believe, Ewing and Trenton. So, you know, it's a really important event in terms of supporting all of our candidates, but it's also, as Scott indicated, and it's really a critical subject today in our country. And, you know, it's important we be well informed and see what we can do, how we can help out in what really are efforts to overturn elections in every way that people can identify. If they can't do it, win elections fairly, then the idea is to gerrymander districts, stop people from voting, whatever other tactics can be undertaken, which obviously strikes at the whole core of what our country values, and it should be encouraging, which is that participation and voting by everybody. So very important. And then just the last thing, we will be putting out more on the elections and how everyone can help out this year. But meanwhile, you know, if you are interested, please reach out to me. If there's something you feel we could be doing in the county, you know where to find me. Please don't hesitate. And again, any way that we can work with and support the great Democrats in Robbinsville, we're here, of course, to want to do that as well. And I just got a chat, so let me just see. So the link for tomorrow's session will be sent out in the morning. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much, Mayor Mironoff. That those events sound really great, and yeah, we certainly appreciate your engagement with the grassroots activists and in this county, and we really value that. We appreciate that. So now, if we have any elected officials present that would like to give an update, go ahead and speak up.
Hey, Scott. It's Commissioner Frisbee.
Hi,
How are
how's it
you?
going, sir?
All is
Good.
well. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Robbinsville Dems after the last convention for selecting me to represent our party again on the ticket. It was a great convention. Also want to say congratulations to Robbinsville Dems. You guys are just going gangbusters. It's funny, I was sitting here thinking several years ago, I was at one of your St. Patrick's Day parade, and I was walking with some Dems, and they were saying if we could just get 8 or 10 people in our club where we get all our seats filled, and you guys are rocking and rolling out there and representing the Democratic banner really well. So thank you for doing that. Just as an update, what has been most front and foremost on the commissioner's mind over the last month really has been the budget. We've received the budget from the administration. We have finally whittled it down. Bottom line is that there will be no tax increase. The levy is basically flat across the whole county. My commissioner counterparts, I want to say they did a phenomenal job with the budget. They're always professional and always on point when it comes to dealing with the finances of the county. Also want to say that if you have an opportunity to sign on to the commissioners meeting tomorrow, we will actually have Dr. Wong and the community college and some of their board members. They've done an economic impact study to see how the college has impacted the economy of our whole county. And they've got some good news for us and they want to share it. So if you have an opportunity, sign on to the meeting tomorrow. We also just received another $12 million in rental assistance through the county government. When we start talking about a dignity economy and making sure that everybody can kind of get through not only this pandemic, but live with dignity in New Jersey, people being put out of their homes has been an issue for people around this state. And we want to make sure that through this pandemic, that we can help give people some relief. So that extra $12 million that we just found out that we will be receiving on top of the $11 million that we received is $23 million in housing and rental assistance for people in the county. So I think most important, and I'll stop after this because I know Commissioner Walter is on the line as well. As you know, we just had the pivot. We were doing vaccinations on that side of the county out at the county college, and it had to pivot to the ice skating rink, which we actually successfully just did last week on Thursday and Friday, and in a partnership with Penn Med. We also unveiled our mobile unit for vaccinations, which has not been tagged yet. We actually just received the mobile unit about a week and a half ago, actually 2 weeks now. And the county administration will be coming up with a plan on how it will be disseminated into the communities to help those people that are homebound in hard to reach areas. So I'm going to stop there because I can go on for a while, but just want to say thank you to the Robbinsville Dems.
So if it's okay, I'll jump in now, Scott. So this is Lucy Walter. I'm going to go ahead. I think Scott's trying to unmute himself.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. I just want to add a couple of things. One, kind of very exciting. We're going to be moving forward with looking at some voting machines and e-poll books next week. They're going to be bringing them in, and we're going to kind of have a rotating session where the commissioners and the election folks are going to get a chance to look at some of these machines, see how they work, see the good and the bad. I know there are a couple of things that I'm real concerned about. One is languages, whether they have the capability of printing on-demand ballots in various languages. Another is a cost measure, whether all of the paper and the printing is proprietary or not, because that has been sometimes an issue. Looking at some of these machines, the upfront cost may not be as high, but the back-end cost can be very, very high. We also want to make sure that it has the capability of doing that on-demand printing. so that when we're doing early voting, you could come into any polling place anywhere in the county and say, you know, I'm in District 32 and, you know, in this town, and that ballot would be able to be printed out for you. So there's lots of moving pieces. And when you add in the e-poll books, lots to look at there. With your tree initiative, I'm so excited about that. Just wanted you to know that I was very proud to be able to bring to the board a no net tree loss policy. Andrew Kuntz joined me in
You could have got a
crafting
wine.
that. And although it is it is an aspirational
I
policy,
don't know.
it isn't one that at this point has to be followed by the county. It certainly is a policy that the commissioners are committed to. So that's kind of exciting too. And I'll leave it there. Hi, everybody. Glad to see you all.
I'll jump in.
Thank you so much.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Hi, Diane Drosky, County Surrogate. I am a candidate this year running for my 6th term for re-election. First of all, I'm very proud, as Sam had said, and where Robbinsville has come from to where they are today. I mean, it's just such a warm feeling to know that there really are Democrats in Robbinsville. And I want to say thank you for your diaper contributions. I was involved in that. We collected here in the neighborhood 17,000 diapers. So I was really very, very happy to see that you participated in that. That means really a lot. We were very busy in the surrogate's office, as I was talking to Scott earlier. I was so proud to say things slowed down last week, but I should bite my tongue because things have started on the upbeat again. Unfortunately, the number of files coming in is starting to crawl upward. We've been very busy. We're still keeping it in and out within a day or so, but it's becoming a real trial to do. I will not say that it's particularly COVID deaths. I would say a lot, unless they're long haulers and they're not putting it on the certificates. But there's just a lot of seniors that are passing. But it makes me feel, I'm sorry that they're passing, but they're 98, 95. You know, they're elderly and they've had, you know, they're having a good life. So it's a little bit easier than when you see the 19 and 20-year-olds come through. Right now, we're looking forward to primary day. And getting out as many voters as we possibly can, because the higher the representation, the stronger we look for the Republicans. And we want to show them that we really are a force here in Mercer County. I'm hoping to be able to walk in Robbinsville as we did 5 years ago. I really enjoyed going around the neighborhood with everyone and meeting people that I haven't had the opportunity. And I'm also looking forward to being able to open my satellite office again in the Robbinsville Senior Center when things become alive again in Robbinsville for that. The county, the courthouse is still closed. They are starting jury trials, so June 15th, but they've already moved that one a week further out than it had been originally planned. But there's no conversation as far as us being open to the public, so we remain still through the mails. I thank you for the time you're giving me. Also, I'm sending apologies on behalf of Paul Solomon Cavello, the county clerk. She had a senior event with her senior daughter who's actually graduating, and she had to be there. She hopes to be able to jump on in the end, but if she's not, she sends her apologies. As always, I thank you for your time, and I look forward to being out in Robbinsville. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Scott?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
I want to apologize really quickly because
Sure.
I see my 2 running mates are on the line. I was thinking so much about the work that we do. We just got off a meeting with Mayor Murnoff talking about where we're going in after the primary and for our election strategy. But Terrence Stokes and Krista McLaughlin, I'm really excited to be running with them. 2 highly intelligent people who are very engaged. We're going to have a lot of fun on the campaign trail, and we're looking forward to walking out there with you guys as well.
Wonderful.
Lucy, you had a question?
Actually, I just had a comment. Since Paula isn't here, Paula's been making a point to remind everybody that if you want a ballot sent to you, you have to do the application unless you are on the permanent list. So it won't automatically be sent to you like it was last time. If you want to do a ballot, if you want a write-in ballot, you have to apply for the through the application process like you used to, it won't be automatically sent to you, the selection, unless you're on the permanent list.
But if you are on the list, Lucy, you will automatically get the ballot. You don't just get an application.
Correct,
You
if
get
you
the
are on the permanent list.
And
But
the poll-
it's going to be a little confusing. Paula's afraid that people will just not do that application, assuming they're going to get a ballot sent to them, and that's not the way it's going to work this time.
And if you're voting in person, it's your regular polling places that you'll be going to.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much for that very important update. Yeah, it's going to be different from next year, so we have to spread the word about that. Perhaps we could do that on social media as well. Okay, so is there anybody else that would like to give an update? Okay, sounds great. Well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker. Bainy Suri is the executive director of the New Jersey Environmental Lobby, the NJEL. And she is a grassroots activist, an attorney, and mother to her son, Kai. For the past 11 years, she has worked on social media and environmental justice issues in Princeton, across Mercer County, and the state of New Jersey. As a first-generation Indian American female and the single parent of a special needs child, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice are relevant, important issues in her professional and personal life. Bainy served on the Princeton Zoning Board, the Board of Meals on Wheels of Mercer County, the Board of NJEL, and the Board of the Princeton Community Democratic Committee. And just so under her leadership in 2020, and NJEL launched a program for Trenton High School students who might not have been exposed to careers in the social and environmental, justice industries. She is hopeful this will help foster diversity among future leaders. So she's been involved a lot. Her bio is very long. So she has a wonderful career in community service and social justice. Today she's going to talk about her work with the NJEL and initiatives, and also about her thoughts on democracy in New Jersey and issues facing our state. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. So I'm very excited to be able to address this group tonight. Sometimes I think, particularly with everything that's been going on in the world lately, COVID, the situation in India, and certainly some of the difficult politics that we are experiencing, you can get a little discouraged. And it's always wonderful to interact with people that are connecting to protect democracy and to foster opportunity for there to be exchange of information. So I think it's so exciting to see that this club has started in Robbinsville. My mom actually really likes Robbinsville and has wanted to sort of think about exploring moving there. And I always thought of Robbinsville as being, just as an outsider and being a registered Dem, but a very progressive Dem. I can go all the way almost to the end of the spectrum with the green is a big priority for me. Always thought of it as a very conservative Republican stronghold. So I think it is nice to see a club being started and there being a lot of people that are interested, most importantly, in just engaging, and then hopefully, of course, fostering some of those democratic ideals that the Democratic Party is supporting.
We're going to change it.
Pardon me?
It said we're going to change it. It said it's conservative Republican. We're going to change it.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's the main, that's the exciting thing about politics. And that's the exciting thing about campaigns and clubs. And it is that opportunity to change it, to take a look at what the status quo is. And I was thinking for tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about democracy. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got into doing what I'm doing. But I think one of the important things is to come up with sort of plans and actions of what you guys want to see happen. And for me, I always say, I want to see action. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for change and growth and innovation and how to do things differently, how to really change the status quo. And so when I first came to New Jersey, I came from California. I had lived in Mercer County actually when I was younger, from the age of kindergarten to 5th grade. And my parents, we lived in Hamilton, but my brother went to the Hun in Princeton. So I have sort of roots in this area. And then for years, I went to college in Boston, law school in Manhattan, but really built my career out in California, primarily in San Francisco, which is where I lived the longest. And my son, unfortunately, was diagnosed with autism. And so I ended up having to come back to Jersey, mostly because I needed to be close to my family. And I always think, you know, when I think about Jersey, I really think that Jersey is very much about family. I think that's why people want to stay here, because they want to, you know, they come home. And so the wonderful thing about that is this incredible populous state has such a diverse group of people. We have seniors that want to age in place here because they're families, right? They have grandkids here. We have young people that want to come back and be close to their parents. We have people that want to be close to their friends and their sisters, and brothers and aunts and uncles and grandparents. And so I think Jersey, to me, you know, I didn't come willingly. I always say I didn't pick Jersey. Jersey picked me. And, you know, I ended up coming back here and really doing it sort of begrudgingly. You know, I was an environmentalist. I was very politically involved in San Francisco. It's incredibly progressive town. And to come back to Jersey, you know, my friends were like, you're going to go to dirty Jersey. You're going to go to dirty Jersey. And I was like, why is it so dirty? And you hear about that in two contexts, in the environmental context, which was a concern for me because I was very interested in the environmental movement. And then in the context of politics. But I just got certified in organic land care management. And I learned that you don't need to be afraid of dirt because dirt is not dirty. What makes dirt dirty is chemicals. And so politics doesn't need to be a dirty business. What makes politics dirty is money and nepotism, right? Those are, because the money itself is, money is a corrupting thing. And if you follow the money, you know, people always say, follow the money, you'll realize that the power of what happens with money. And of course, when you're talking about elections, two things are important if you want to get elected. You need votes or you need money. You know, you need the votes to win, but if you have the money, it helps get the votes. So, you know, what I like to say is I'm really here to kind of take the dirty out of Jersey so we can be dirty in a good way. I want to clean it up from an environmental perspective, and I want to clean up the politics. And they go hand in hand because to regulate, you need to legislate. So when I moved here, I was shocked to see food scraps going into the garbage, single-use plastic bags, and styrofoam. I literally hadn't seen it for over, you know, a decade in New Jersey. So it seemed ridiculous to me, I mean, in California, that it was here. And I didn't know anybody in town. So I ended up going to I think it was a screening of a movie, Bag It, and joining like an environmental club and getting involved. And I was like, why can't we write a bill and just get rid of plastic? Like, how hard could that be, right? Thinking naively, how hard could that be? Okay, well, welcome to New Jersey, because it was a lot harder than you think. So for 2.5 years, I did grassroots activism with a group of people. All of us were interested in doing it. We kind of had, you know, working together, getting really excited, and we made some traction. And we ended up going to meet with Mayor, you know, talk to Mayor Lempert and the Environmental Commission about wanting to do something. And originally, the opposition that we were getting was saying, you know, if you do something in Princeton, what's going to happen to merchants that have a store in 2 locations? It's going to be confusing. And so the mayor, you know, we got some traction, we got people to sign on, everyone was interested. And the mayor kind of said, you know, I could get behind this if you could do it at the county level. And it was like, wait a minute, I think I could do it in Princeton, but at the county, I don't know anybody at the county. And luckily, Sustainable Jersey set up a hub. And that's, you know, I like to shine a light on that hub because you have your own group going in Robbinsville, but you can also partner, and I'm going to talk about that, like connect with other groups. There's always so much reinventing of the wheel. I think it's a lot better to, you know, get under an umbrella and say, like, where can we find common ground with other groups so that together as a coalition, we can involve the stakeholders and move things forward in an equitable way for everybody, right? That's kind of important. Well, we were very lucky. Brian Hughes, who is the county executive, he took a risk. And he said, you know what, I'm going to put this on the referendum. Now, none of the other towns, there was one woman in Lawrenceville who had been working sort of, we had testified in front of Senator Smith in 2013. She had done a little work, but Princeton had done a lot of work because we'd been working on the issue for almost 3 years. The referendum gets put up, and the question was, would you be okay if there was a 5-cent charge on bags? The referendum fails. And it was, you know, all this everyone, like there were representatives from each town. We kind of got together, all the environmentalists, you know, Brian Hughes took a risk. It was really very exciting. And it seemed like, oh my God, we're going to do this. Well, it ended up unfortunately failing in every town except Princeton. It passed in Princeton overwhelmingly in every district except one. And when I went back to Mayor Lempert and I said, you know, okay, it didn't happen in Mercer County, but let's do it in Princeton. She didn't want to do it in Princeton. And, you know, there's sort of a longer tale about how and why. But again, things don't always happen because what's right should happen. Sometimes things happen because of the politics, or sometimes things don't happen because of the politics. But I always like to say, fast forward now, I didn't think it would ever take me a decade to see a plastic pollution bill pass. But here's what happened. If you fast forward 10 years, you will see that in that same group of county towns, Trenton, Hopewell, Pennington, all passed plastic pollution ordinances. The crazy thing is the town that started the entire movement, like we were on ABC News first and never finished. But it didn't matter because it was the right thing to do. And it took 10 years, but it happened. And now New Jersey in 2020, in the middle of COVID, passes a landmark piece of plastic pollution legislation, the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. It goes into effect May 2022. And it is the strictest bill in the nation, And I was on an interview when I first got started, Dennis and Judy. It's like a right-wing radio show. And they were making fun of me. And at that time, this is 10 years ago, people were like, you're crazy, go back to California. We don't want the government telling us what kind of bags we want. They made fun of my name. It's a very funny interview. You can Google it. Well, this December, wouldn't you know that I went to a hotel in Greenwich and ended up sitting next to Judy from Dennis and Judy. And I was like, hey, Judy, remember me? Guess what? How do you like those apples? And so I like that story because it's a failure in many ways. It didn't happen where it started, but the goal was always bigger than that. The goal was always to pass state legislation. And it did happen. And it happened not just on the bags. We got rid of styrofoam. You have to request a straw. I mean, it's a comprehensive, excellent bill. Now, I will say it's an interesting bill because it actually bans both paper and plastic. The approach of the bill that I wrote, which was the first piece of legislation in the state, was a charge. So it was a charge originally on paper and plastic, and then it moved to be a ban on plastic and a charge on paper. And the reason that I had advocated for the charge is that, you know, when you're looking at passing legislation and policy, you want to pass policy that doesn't have a lot of resistance to it. And I think sometimes you'll get farther with a carrot than with a stick. And what happens is sometimes when you pass legislation, there are people that are very anti-government. So they look for any opportunity whatsoever to be complaining. Oh, I forgot my bag and now I can't have one because the government says I can't have one. So I think strategically it would have been better to do a charge. That is what I wanted to see happen. West Windsor did pass that approach and the mayor vetoed it. And wouldn't you know, when he vetoed it, he cited to Princeton. So, you know, this moral of the story, I'm going to be teaching a little civics program on this, is that you got to have a champion. The champions, when you're trying to pass legislation and really change the status quo, you need to work within the political system. And that kind of connects us back tonight with why is it so important to be engaged in a club, to be, you know, active politically, to be supporting people that you want to see in office, because they make the laws. They make the laws. They're the ones that are going to make the decisions. And if your elected officials don't want to see something happen, if you have a mayor that's powerful, it may not happen. There will be lots of interests that elected officials are trying to, you know, balance and meet. And so you really need to understand, well, who am I voting for? What do they stand for? And you know, when I think about the candidates in District 16, Andrew Zwicker is my assemblyman, and so is Assemblyman Freeman. Both of them voted on plastics, but Zwicker was lecturing on plastics. I mean, he was way far ahead even before it came up for a vote. And Andrew Zwicker has also voted to support the Liberty Park State Act. So, you know, and so far, Assemblyman Freeman hasn't. So I think it's important to kind of see, like, where are your elected officials and how can you get to know people more? And how can you make sure that the process is really open and transparent? at the end of the day, transparency is not a partisan like quality. Okay. Transparency leads to trust, and trust is very important. And it also leads to, when you have transparency, if there are things that are going on that are not authentic, or there are people that are behaving without integrity, you're going to see it when there's transparency. So, part of this issue of protecting democracy and fostering connection is to be able to have things happen, right? I mean, it was great. We ran a lot of volunteer programs, and that's wonderful, educate and outreach. But at the end of the day, it's the laws that are going to protect your rights, right? If we didn't have a Voting Rights Act, which we actually really don't have one now because the teeth has been taken out of it, you're going to be seeing all the stuff you're seeing going on, because those laws protect people. If we didn't have the EPA, believe me, we'd have polluted water. And so, there's always this delicate balance. Now, we don't want to be told what to do on every single point of our life, but we share the earth, we share the water, we share the land. So when it comes to environmental issues of public health, we really need to have collective, collaborative work, even if it's people coming from different sides of the aisle. We have to be able to put aside the partisanship, and we have to think about the issues first and people first. This is a democratic club, and so it would be foolish to say, oh, this is a bipartisan organization. No, you want to elect Democrats, absolutely. But you also want to plant the seeds and create the opportunities to make sure that the Democrats are living up to what you want the Democrats to be. And if you're a Democrat, I'm a Democrat, I want to push the process and make sure it is transparent, because this is the team that I'm playing on, and this is the team that I'm voting for, but I want them to be held accountable, because elected officials always need to be held accountable because they work for us. So it's important to look at somebody's voting record. I was in North Carolina recently, and I was so thrilled to see this magazine. Someone had taken all of the state elected officials and kind of created a Facebook, like, I'm 51. So when I went to high school, we had like a yearbook, and it had pictures, of people on a page. But they did that, and there are some good tools. This is something that League of Women Voters puts out, and it's a New Jersey Citizens Guide to Government, and it's nice in that it tells you who all of your elected officials are. But I really liked that one because there were pictures. And when I go down to do a lobby day as a lobbyist for the New Jersey Environmental Lobby, I usually have a thing that has little pictures and the name of the person. And some of the pictures, you're like, wait a minute, that was taken a long time ago, like from their first, elected office, but it still helps. I think the more, an issue that's come up a lot is this business with the county line. And that's a, huge topic. So I'm not going to take that on. But one of the arguments against abolishing the county line is that if you do that, it confuses the voter. And then how does the voter know who the Democrats as a whole are supporting and endorsing? And voters do like to know that. Sometimes when I don't know I used to read the paper in San Francisco, the Chronicle would do like a who to vote for, who not to vote for. And I wouldn't follow that blindly, but I would take it into account. But when you get to the root of that, that's about education. No one should not know who they're voting for. I mean, you should know who your elected officials are. It's important. And sometimes we don't. And I know it sounds like, the basics, but it really is about the basics, because the process is not set up to be inclusive and welcoming and easy. You hear about, I think Lucy was talking about the process of, oh, this year it's going to be like this. Yeah, it is sometimes like, I look at a state like Oregon, it's like, come on, just send the ballots out, make it easy, everybody votes. The people want everybody to vote. That's what we want, because that will create laws and puts elected officials in office that represent what the majority of the people want. And this is a majority rule country. That's what we've decided. So I do think that any opportunity to foster, connection and collaboration where you can talk about your issues, and to remember, the mayor is very powerful. The council people make decisions about your life, and you should know who they are, and they should know who you are. And if they're not doing things, you should have an opportunity to ask them why. And having a club for democracy is also important. I'll, take the District 16 race that's happening. There are 3 candidates in the race, and I attended a forum where they were all asked questions, they were given the questions, people sent in the questions ahead of time. If there had not been 3 candidates, there would have been no forum. And one of the candidates was able to ask the incumbent some questions. Hey, you voted on this. Why? There would be no one to ask that. So we want to break down those barriers. We want to engage, invite, excite. Oh, you think you want to run? Great. You're interested in any way that you want to get involved, whether you want to lead a club, you want to actually run yourself, you want to do an education program, any of it. The more educated and engaged and aware the constituents are, the better you will see the laws and the programs that those people want. The more likelihood it is that you're going to see those kind of supportive programs. And when you look to other developed nations, you do see that. Americans, this drives me crazy. Americans want Medicare for all. Okay, the majority is wanting that. And we have a Democrat president, we have the House, we have the Senate, and yet we can't have it because of obstructionists like Mitch McConnell. But it's important, right? We need to know those are strategic races. It doesn't matter that we have all these other people in play if we can't get something passed. And so the question is, why is it we're not able, and this is how I felt about the plastic bag. I sort of was like, you've got the record to show you that the majority, and not just a small majority, I'm talking like 85% of this town wanted to pass this plastic pollution legislation. 41 merchants said they were on board. And over the decade, I would go back every year and be like, okay, now it's 129 towns. Are you ready to do it yet? Like, why couldn't it happen? And so it's important to keep track of, when things stall, like the Liberty State Park Act, which is trying to protect the park for once and for all. It's like every year that park has to come up and be protected. And so this act is just saying, let's just call it a park because that's what it is. And remember that the park is public, and just stop soliciting bids for the public park. So you're going to see that legislation sometimes will stall, or like, why isn't the mayor coming out in support of the park? I mean, I definitely really like the governor. I think he's competent. I feel very lucky that he was running things. I think he handled the COVID situation, really like a pro. He is intelligent, he's capable, he's compassionate, he's empathic. He's not perfect. So my question is, Liberty State Park, that would be something that if I could, get to him, I'd want to ask him, and I will ask him. And that's part of this democratic process. How can you guys get together and talk about, are there issues you want to write to your legislative officials about? Are there things going on that you want to get behind? But like I said, I think it's so exciting to see a Democratic club. It's awesome. And it makes me like, it just ignites that feeling in me that, you're not alone in believing that the United States of America has a lot of issues, but it is still by far the best government in the world when it works. And when it works, not necessarily as the founding fathers had envisioned it, because they didn't really envision it in the way that we envision it, but it was in the spirit of that. The spirit of the founding of this country is really about equality, equal opportunity, and justice for all. That is democracy. Anytime you're fostering that, I think that is, a good thing. So positive on the club. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some action that's going on in New Jersey. New Jersey Environmental Lobby worked on the plastics for 10 years. They gave me an award when I wrote the bill and kind of helped to testify and support it. Now with plastics done, we're going to focus on toxins. So we're running a campaign called Garden State Organics, and we're going to be trying to pass legislation to prevent the use of synthetic pesticides in public parks. And New York City and New York State actually just banned glyphosate. But we want to do better than that, because what happens is when you ban one chemical, the chemical company just changes the formula, and then you got to go around, it's like hot potato. So what we want to see happen in New Jersey is an outright ban of all synthetic pesticides in public parks, local, state, and county. And that campaign is called Garden State Organics. And we're going to be coming to each town in Mercer County. We'll start in Mercer County because that's where I live, and seeing if we can get people interested in trying to get a local bill passed and to participate in a grant program. And then I personally also own a company called Eco Community Solutions, and I am running a program called OK New Jersey Stop Waste Now. And it's a program for municipalities, and it teaches them how to educate their residents on how to recycle right, and most importantly, how to refuse plastic, because plastic never biodegrades. It does not go away. And even the plastic that is collected is rarely, if ever, recycled. It was all going to China, and then China said no, and now we're not really sure what we're going to do with it. So it talks about that. It talks about contamination. And then it also offers towns to be able to buy a little composting machine called the Food Cycler. And the resident can put their food scraps into the machine, press the button at night, it turns it into soil amendment, and then we teach you how to mix that soil amendment into your backyard, or it can be collected, but it doesn't have any smell or any waste. And so I'm going to be talking to the green teams across Mercer County, then I'll be talking to the mayors, and then I'll be talking to council. So those are two programs that are going to be running in New Jersey, one on toxins and one on compost. And the other thing I'd like to say about New Jersey Environmental Lobby is that this lobby is actually the oldest lobbying organization in the state. And I found this really old collateral I was at our office in Trenton. We have an office on State Street, and it just describes what they have been doing. And I just want to read it because it's so amazing to me that it still fits. And it says, New Jersey Environmental Lobby lobbies the New Jersey State Legislature for clean air, water, and land. New Jersey Environmental Lobby represents public interest on statewide environmental issues. New Jersey Environmental Lobby is the only registered environmental lobbying group in Trenton solely focused on New Jersey. And that, of course, might have changed because this is when we first came out. But and it says, New Jersey Environmental Lobby persuades public officials to protect the watersheds, preserve open space, support mass transit, and encourage economic redevelopment of urban brownfields. We testify at state hearings and also provide valuable information about environmental issues to other grassroots organizations. It's amazing to me that the mission of protecting the planet is just like the mission of protecting democracy. It doesn't ever really change, and it doesn't go away. We have to protect democracy and the planet constantly, because it's constantly under assault. Both of them are constantly under assault. They're undermined, if you will, by the forces that are against protecting both of them. And so, when you're fighting to save the environment, there's always things that you can be working on. And the same is true when it comes to democracy. There's lots of places to look and see, how do we make New Jersey more democratic? Why can't we look and see what other states are doing? What are the best practices? I think there's a group, I'm not going to be able to remember their name, but I know there was a really good organization that is working on the specific issue of the county line. And maybe it's called Good Governance, or I'm not sure. I'll find out the name and report back. But there are groups that are trying to look at the process of how politics are working and trying to make it more transparent and more green. We produce a newsletter. We don't take any money from any, one that could influence our work. We're primarily supported by members. It's a small little staff. I basically lobby, and the president writes the newsletters. And then we have a lot of volunteers, some young folks that I mentor. We really have been at the forefront of a lot of things. And I have to say, I've really learned that it took a decade on plastics. I really was like, I'm going to do this in like 2 years, not kidding. Then it was 3, 4, 5. I mean, I would have never thought. These are problems that we're trying to solve that sometimes have been solved for decades in other states. If you look at California, they banned gas leaf blowers. They've had much stricter regulation on pollution. I mean, they are so far ahead of the curve in some ways, and New Jersey can really catch up. But on the positive side, during COVID, we also passed some landmark legislation that talks about protection for disparate communities. So that is a social justice landmark bill. No one in the country, including California, passed anything like that. And we passed that during COVID. So I really see, I'm very optimistic, and I see New Jersey as being, a rival to California in terms of being, beautiful and having so much to offer. The Pinelands, the Sourlands. I mean, our entire state, except for up at the top, is bordered by water. It's really, incredible. And people love Jersey and want to live here and want to be here and have their family here. And I think New Jersey can be the greenest, cleanest state in this entire country. And I think that groups like yours can help, make that happen. Because if we get the right people in office, we can do a lot and we can really lead and show other people, if you can do it in Jersey where we have so many people, we would, other states will be able to follow our lead. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, that's a lot. I probably would just, open it up to questions. And I can also follow up with more information about the campaigns that I mentioned. But I don't know if we should just open it up to questions or let's see.
Sure. First I want to say that was, thank you so much. That was absolutely beautiful. I just loved everything you said. I love this, this analogy of the environment and democracy, and having to constantly work to clean up, both of them at the same time, and they're interconnected. And really want to congratulate you on that plastic bag ban. I remember first hearing about it, and I was really shocked. I didn't know we would do something like that here, and it really speaks to how long these things take. And you were just incredible work. Of course, anybody that knows me knows that I'm a strong believer in abolishing the county line. And I think that's absolutely critical to, giving voters more power so we can do more good things with like what you're talking about. So, with that said, we had a couple of questions. We can open it up to questions. I'm going to go through the chat, and I will, I'm just going to go ahead and just read what I see, and then feel free afterward to just speak up and ask your question, or you can message me and I can ask it for you. Okay, this is from Jeffrey Laurenti. Perhaps the relevant question in this time of hyperpolarization is whether there are any voters not so wedded to a party that they will switch for one candidate or another based on the environment. Are there Republicans who can tip the balance in Republican primaries for a pro-environmental candidate? Or is environment now subsumed into the Democratic package?
There are, I am not familiar with all of the Republicans, but Senator Kip Bateman, who now is likely going to be replaced with Andrew Zwicker, who would be a Democratic candidate and is the assemblyman for the district that I'm in, District 16, voted very consistently on the environment. And New Jersey Environmental Lobby years ago gave him an award. I really find it very troubling to see people try to make the environment into a partisan issue. I do, again, of course, the way that the government works, you don't want to undermine yourself and take out a powerful Democratic ally. You have to be careful about that. It is politics. That is part of the strain with it. But I do think that there should be good Republicans that are interested in the environment. And when there are, like Senator Kate Bateman, I did meet with him in December. And I met with all my elected officials. And I was pleased to see that some good Republicans exist. I have to say, at the federal level, I'm disappointed with every single Republican who's in the Senate, certainly, who didn't vote to impeach Trump, in my opinion, should be removed themselves. I have just no tolerance for that at all. So those Republicans, I can't even consider them. But I also think, it's the opponents that try to make this thing about, always trying to make it seem that being green isn't being green in the sense of money and jobs. And that's the most absurd thing I've ever heard of. So one thing that I learned in my organic waste management class is, waste is a human concept. It's a human concept because there is no waste in nature. So to try to, if you are talking about nature is efficient. If you do the green thing, trust me, you're going to save money. And I'm a big proponent of that. I truly believe that good green economic policy is good for business. It is a good, there's a whole economy that can come from that. And the people that are trying to undermine it, that's just the plastic lobby and the folks that have the infrastructure to make plastics and fossil fuels. They don't want to change and invest. if they don't want to leave plastics, we're going to have to leave them behind. That doesn't mean we don't want to have jobs. Of course we want to have jobs. But if you're sick and you can't work, you're not going to be worried about having a job. Okay. And pollution, if we haven't learned anything from COVID, the number one determinant of how you're going to live, your quality of life, is going to be your respiratory health. Your respiratory health. So issues like pollution, they have to be addressed. They have to be addressed. And the Republicans should be getting pushed on those issues too. And if there were Republicans that were green, and if there were Republicans that stepped up to sponsor this Liberty State Park Act, I don't know whether I would jump ship to vote for them, but I would be open to meeting with them and certainly talking to them. You know, that I would consider. I mean, we have to work together ultimately. Doesn't mean we always have to agree, but there are things that we're going to have to come together and work together for. I don't know. Did that answer the question?
I think Jeffrey had to leave, but he apologized. But no, I think I think it answered the question pretty well. Absolutely. And I just want to add one thing, because I did spend some time sort of studying some of these issues, and when you look at the polling, the majority of voters want to have a livable planet, want to have, these things are basic to human existence, but they're sort of manipulated and with different tricks to vote for this person or that person. So I mean, if you really speak on the issues and especially tie them to jobs, because going green can be good for the economy, good for jobs. So so Georgia and EJ ask, what is the stance on offshore wind farms? Your organization.
Sure. So we were one of the leading organizations on renewable energy, and there was a lot of skepticism and just outright opposition when the wind farms first started to come out, and we were big proponents. We did a wind symposium in 2019, and we actually are going to do one, I think, this July. We have a tentative date of July 28th, but there's been a lot of misinformation around wind, and a lot of groups, Pennsylvania homeowners that are vacation homeowners, being stirred up and creating problems and really spreading a lot of misinformation about the wind. We are huge supporters of offshore wind, and we do believe that it is the best thing for New Jersey, and that the projects that are being put into place, this offshore wind project, Ocean Wind, is a good project. And I think back in the beginning, it was Ørsted is the organization that partnered with New Jersey to help us get to the place where we're going to meet our renewable energy goals. And the offshore wind project is an excellent project, but there are people that are sort of spreading misinformation to try to create a campaign that will undermine the project. It's a great project, and Ørsted has been, named one of the most sustainable energy companies for 3 years in a row. This is not a partner that isn't going to be able to deliver on what they said. And the offshore wind energy is really an opportunity for everyone. It's not just for developers. I do think that this project is going to, unfortunately, have issues unless there is an event that tries to correct that misinformation. Campaigns of misinformation are dangerous because they play on fear, and that's an emotion that gets people all riled up, and it moves them away from thinking rationally towards thinking emotionally. And I think the other thing that we're up against, which wasn't an issue when I was growing up, is that there's this discussion over facts. There's facts and there's science. We don't have to always agree that every project is, going to be in the best interest, but you're not going to be able to deny that something is going to produce good, clean energy, that it is much better than the product that it's offsetting, and that on balance, it isn't going to be a good thing. But when people try to undermine a project like that, they do it with misinformation. So I could give you more information about the offshore project at Ocean Wind that I can send as a follow-up, and I can let you know when our symposium is finalized. We actually were going to do it in September, but the campaign is so negative, and it's all lies, but it's creating problems. So we're going to push ourselves and probably have it in July. And I will tell you, when COVID hit, California pulled it literally pulled its support of of reusable bags and was allowing people to use plastic bags because the movement, the paranoia that was created by the plastic pollution lobby was so great. And they had all these scientific studies. None of the studies supported what they said. And I had to write a letter and literally say like, they're literally lying. They had nothing to stand on. And just common sense, if you have your own bag and it's in your house and you take it from your house and put it in your car and take it to the grocery store, do you think that the chain of title on that is cleaner than if a plastic bag gets made in a factory, shipped across the country, goes on a truck, 4 people touch it, there's 3 different cashiers? I mean, it's absurd. There was no science, and it doesn't even make common sense, but a lot of people were going around saying, oh, the bags are dirty. And I even had some environmentalists say to me, Bainy, don't say that there's scientific evidence that the reusable bags are safer. And I was like, no, there is scientific. It's okay to say that there's scientific evidence when there is scientific evidence. You know, we can debate opinion and we can debate strategy and we can debate approach. We can never debate facts. That's why they're facts, you know? And so we really need to kind of like push on that, I think. But we've always supported renewable energy, huge proponents of this wind project, and really in it from the very beginning. We've been very happy to see that it would avoid the burning of fossil fuels, which is raising the Earth's temperature and creating violent storms, damage to animal species. I mean, you know, it's, you know, I took my son to the rainforest in Costa Rica for spring break. And I took him because I was like, he needs to see it because it just might not be here. You know, the biodiversity of the planet is at stake, and it's not being outrageous and it's not being dramatic. That's a fact. That's a fact. And, you know, the leaders that are leading, we need to push them to act and to do things because we can't act. And if they don't understand science, I don't want them representing me. I don't. You know, if somebody would be debating science, that's not an elected official that should be in any position of power because they don't know what they're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Georgia and EJ, I guess you might have touched upon this a little bit, but you had anything to say? They also ask them, how do you plan on dispelling the misinformation in regards to the offshore wind, such as killing the birds, ruining the tourist trade, and people will not want to look at the horizon of windmills. And then the follow up to that is, will you be focusing on coming to beach towns who are lined up against it? And if I'm not mistaken, you're from Point Pleasant Beach, correct? Yes. So. Yeah.
So one thing that you can do is, so we've written some letters to the editors, which have been published. Our newsletter specifically talks about the offshore wind project and then contains an article that was written by one of our board members who used to work for Ørsted. So that letter contains some information, and the symposium will bring panels and experts, and we would try to, you know, have sort of an educational event where we could debate and discuss the issues. What happens a lot is that there is no public debate. Like, you know, one of the things that really was so difficult for me with the plastics was that I never got a chance to just publicly tell people why the bill that I had written was the best bill and that it should be passed. I got that chance in West Windsor, and they amended their bill and they followed my approach and the mayor vetoed it. But a lot of times what happens is there's no opportunity to have a public dialogue, you know? And so I think if we can debate these people, you know, we're going to be able to prove that they are standing on very shaky ground and all of the claims that they are making are absurd. You know, the project has looked at making sure that the ocean wind team moved the closest point of ocean wind from 8 miles to 15 miles from the shore. And they did that to minimize the potential impacts to migratory birds. You know, those kinds of things were considered. They have consulted with people to make sure that the interactions with the coast are a priority. They didn't undertake this project without doing it very systematically and making sure that they considered all of the damage, because offshore wind is supported by environmental groups. And if the project was killing birds, we wouldn't put our, we wouldn't put our stamp of approval on it. We would have to say that it wasn't a good project. But to go around just saying, making all these claims. And then I think the other thing is look at the money. I started the session with that. Always follow the money. Who are the people that oppose this? It's wealthy, out of town Pennsylvania residents that have shore homes. I don't know why they are lobbying for what's going to happen in New Jersey. Just like if you follow the money on the plastics, the biggest opponent was the Food Council. And the Food Council, of course, is connected to the plastic lobby. You always have to see, and also, whenever there's going to be a change, and there always has to be a change, that's how innovation and development happens. Somebody's going to lose something and somebody's going to gain something. And what is it on balance that makes the most sense? The smokers were never going to come to, council and mayors and our state leaders and say, you know what, we'll stop smoking inside, no problem. That was never going to happen. The smokers had to lose that right so that the workers' public health could be protected. And on balance, that was the right shift. But nobody ever gives up power without a fight. You're not going to see that. Every right has, look at women's right to vote, right? People say, oh, we gave you women the right to vote. Okay, nobody gave women the right to vote. No one's given women anything. If we have anything, believe me, we definitely worked hard and claimed it, because that is what is required when you're trying to make a change in the status quo.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so we just got a question that came in from Rocky. She says some cities like Seattle have laws about only using compostable utensil straws and plates. How do we move in that direction?
That's an awesome question. And it supports the campaign that I'm working on with the compost. So originally the umbrella of what I was focused on when I came to New Jersey was waste. So first, plastic pollution, reducing the use of plastic and cleaning up recycling. And then the third part is compost. If the municipalities and the states are set up to the state becomes set up to compost, it makes sense for businesses. They'll quickly switch to paper because all of that trash can then go into the compost. It goes right in with the food waste. So that is definitely something that goes in hand with campaigns that support regenerative organic living. And I'm really moving away from this concept of sustainability. I'm really moving into organic and regenerative. We missed the boat on sustainability. We missed the boat. We are not in a place to just sustain and not do any harm. That's the first principle of organic living, do no harm. Okay, we're at do no harm. Now the problem is we need to regenerate. We need to regenerate. We've so depleted the earth that it's not enough to just not harm it. We need to heal it. And that's where composting comes into play. And if we had mandatory composting, I think it would be easy to switch. Like, for instance, there's a vegan place in Princeton, and I was so delighted to see that the guy set up one bin for plastics, one bin for trash, and one bin for compost. And his bottom containers can go right into that compost bin. Now, he's not taking everything, but eventually we'll get there. So if we had mandatory composting, I think that would go a long way. And then certainly, a lot of it is also about education. Once you see how easy it is. And the other thing I want to say, as maybe if we're going to close this up, is I want to talk about fun. Like, I don't go around judging people and pointing my finger and trying to force people to do things. I find it fun. I think it's fun to figure out how to waste less. You have to think and be curious and, explore. And when I do a lot of outreach events, I can send Scott a follow-up too, of a flash mob that I did. I did a flash mob, a bike skate rally, poems for the planets, an all-day festival with yoga. I try to sort of make it fun and get people to, like, once you start to be green, I don't know, I feel like it feels great. It feels great to be green and clean. I love being able to be like, oh, I didn't make any waste. My event was zero waste. And the more educated you get, and that's what this campaign, this OK New Jersey Stop Waste Now campaign, if you really start to pay attention, you're going to see how much useless waste there is everywhere. I mean, actually, I was at a coffee shop and we just got rid of plastic bags. And Dunkin' Donuts is now putting this little plastic chip in the top of the cup so that it keeps, the steam from coming out. And it's a solid little, I mean, it's small, but it's like, are you crazy? You're constantly going to be coming at it from all these different directions. So I think the more you educate people, really, if there's a consciousness, if you become conscious about what you're consuming, where the money's going, what the packaging it came in is, you will start to become so aware of just how much trash there is and how much careless waste there is. And we need to put it back on the manufacturers. We need to vote with our dollars and say, you made a profit from this. Don't send me stuff that isn't in recycled packaging. But I think all of that, getting to that is doing programs and outreach, fun events, getting kids engaged. Kids are the best, they'll be like, my mom uses plastic bags, and the mom's like mortified. Like once they get on the environmental bandwagon, they love to be like, trying to figure out how to save the planet.
Thank you very much. So actually, we're going to close it off with Ava Glendo is a local high schooler and a local environmental activist, and she has a few questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. So I'm part of this organization. It's called the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition, and we're like about 350 students from all across New Jersey in high school and college. The organization is completely student-led, and I'm on the leadership team. And so right now what we're doing is we're trying to get the Green Amendment passed. And so, we've been in touch with a lot of legislators, and we've been trying to, get something done with it so that we can get it passed, and then have it voted on in the election in November.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering, A, if you're familiar with that amendment, and B, if we could stay in touch, because it seems like you're such a wealth of knowledge and resources, and so I would really appreciate like any help that you can offer.
Well, first of all, I know about your coalition and it's incredible. And I just talked to a woman named Joanna, who I think was running it from Rowan. So she reached out to me and we talked for a while, for a long time, actually. It was really exciting. And I am so impressed with this group and I think it's awesome. You guys actually did a lot of work on the plastics. I know about the Green Amendment. I do know about the Green Amendment. I would like to know more. And so we could set up a time for you to educate me and get me up to speed. I have the issues that I'm working on, but I would 100% be delighted to support you in any way. And I had talked to her because I'm very interested in having a bigger connection with the Student Sustainability Coalition. And this fight, all of it, it's really your fight. It's really the fight of the youth. And I see you guys so engaged and so willing to do the work. And I really think you're going to make the future into what you want it to be. And being a part of that organization and taking a role like that is awesome. And anything that I can do, I'd love to strategize with you and we could follow up. And if I can help you, I definitely would. And again, this goes back to, as we kind of close out and wrap up, creating coalitions and creating groups and creating opportunities to connect. There's an exponential power in collaboration. There really is. In getting together with other people, we are stronger together. And when you show up with a big group of people, elected officials are going to take notice. So, connecting with student groups, I'm delighted that and I think it's so great that now, do you live in Robbinsville?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay. So that's wonderful that you're also belong to your, that's one of the things that I was kind of disappointed about in the PCDO, the Princeton group. We don't really have, it's a very, it was a much older group. And I was always wanting to kind of pull in youth because ultimately we want, the more diverse groups are, the more all parties are represented, young people that have certain interests and focus on things, older people, disabled people, people from all sorts of religions and ethnicities, the better the dialogue can be and the more equitable the solutions that we propose can be. So thank you. I think it's wonderful for this group to have a connection to your coalition and for you to, hopefully you can, one of the things that you could do is sort of do what I'm doing. Maybe I could help you put together a speaking opportunity or tour that you would do to go talk to groups and present on the Green Amendment and say to Democratic clubs, we're going to take the lead. We're going to educate you. We'll be shining a light on the issues, and we just want to get you engaged, and we want to be able to tell your elected officials, one thing that's nice, do you have a petition going, or are you doing sort of like, what things have you done so far?
So we have a petition.
Okay.
For Earth Day, I organized this like big virtual concert that was centered around the Green Amendment, and all of the music and everything was environmentally themed, and it had a bunch of information about the Green Amendment all throughout it, and we sent that to legislators and used it to raise awareness. We also had like a couple different workshops, like an LTE writing workshop where we all did like wrote LTEs about the Green Amendment. We're trying to reach out to legislators right now. That's an uphill battle, and trying to get more co-sponsors on it. I think we need like 5-6 more. So we're almost there.
Yeah, no, those are all great things. I try to infuse a lot of my events always, like I threw an event called Princeton Rocks the Vote, and I had like an all-day concert in Heinz Plaza, and I invited Democrats, Republicans, League of Women Voters. I made it more about voter turnout. But I find arts and music are a wonderful way to engage people in your mission and to get some like attention for your events. The petitions are great. And then, yes, getting some sponsors and pushing people. Like if there's people that you want to sponsor, try to go out and speak to their constituents and have one of their constituents contact them and say, could you get on this? Could you sponsor this? But all of the things that you're doing sound great. And we could brainstorm. I can think of a lot of cool ideas that we could talk about of ways to create awareness. My website in 3 weeks will be done for Eco Community Solutions, and it'll feature all of the different programs that I've, ever done. But I do a lot of stuff with arts, because I think arts, I always say, is essential. Art is not a luxury, and art is a great tool to use to foster democracy, because it really you can put messages in things, using art and things in a way that you can't sometimes. And letter to the editors, I know it doesn't seem like, believe me, people they do read letter to the editor. I'm telling you, when I get the paper, I pretty much skip to letter to the editor, and I kind of read that. And I know that the people that write in, they know the issue. There's so many things going on. None of us could keep up to date on everything. But you see in this group, there's a bunch of different people, and everybody brought up different things. Someone's asking about wind. Someone's asking about the Green Amendment. So we don't all have to be the expert on everything. We can share and discuss and have opportunities to learn from each other, and maybe to change our mind. Sometimes you think you're for something and you're not, and you hear somebody else's perspective and it changes you. But I would just, to close, like to express my very heartfelt gratitude, because I do get disappointed sometimes, and sometimes I get discouraged, and this kind of stuff just lights me up like a Christmas candle. I'm like, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. There are lots of people here that want to make the world a better place. And what a fun and awesome thing, because the secret to happiness, I'll tell you what it is. The secret to happiness is purpose and connection, and saving the planet and fostering democracy. Those are some awesome purposes. And connection is exactly what you're doing in a group like this. It's fun. You see your friends, you foster democracy, you pass a plastic pollution ban, that's the strictest in the nation. And, you make things happen. Change your behavior, change the world, I always say. And I think this group is going to change some behavior, and I think you're going to change the world. And I'm so excited to come, to come to some of your events from time to time if I can pop in. Definitely check out New Jersey Environmental Lobby. And then you'll be hearing from me on the toxin campaign, and I'll be coming into your town with my compost solution.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bainy. That was really beautiful, and you definitely uplifted me and the whole group as well with your incredible work, successes, and your remarks tonight. So everybody, just give a nice virtual round of applause for Bainy. So we're 1 minute away from the end of our meeting. Is Paula Cabello on the line by any chance? I thought maybe she would join later. Just wanted to make sure anyone, in case she joined. But okay, does anybody else have anything they want to add before we close out the meeting? All right.
Hi, this is Nusheen.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, this is Nusheen, and thank you very much for all the information that you gave. It was very formative, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And what I have to say is, just because I have all of the big heads that are seeing the governor and they are in the New Jersey state and they see everybody more than I would if I had a chance to go there and make myself heard. What I like to talk about is you were absolutely correct. You always have to follow the money. You're absolutely correct. Always being together and making a bigger group makes your voice being heard louder. I am the biggest mouth in Robbinsville, and I think most Robbinsville people and Hamilton people, they agree with it. It was very nice meeting you, and I hope I meet you in person. I think it would be great to be with Ava. I think she's one of our future perfect person, and I really do appreciate knowing her and her family. What I wanted to ask you and ask everybody else is in here is making a bigger coalition and with other counties in Mercer County and help the people who are having problem with getting their money from unemployment insurance from the governor. I know many, many families that are waiting for many, many weeks and many, many months without receiving a penny, the phone calls, the letters, and nothing is working. They cannot get anything. And at this point, if you even open your mouth and say, hi, but if you don't use your plastic bag, they will punch your nose out. So to make people a little bit happier to do what you need them to do, you have to give them what they need to live. And this is one of the things. The unemployment insurance situation is awful in New Jersey. It's horrible. People are hungry. People are not telling everyone because they have pride and they do not want to bring it up. And we have a lot of people in here from Mercer County, and I appreciate each and every one of them. And I hope they didn't leave, and I hope they hear me, because I don't have a way of seeing that who's here, who's not right now. And I hope you take my word, and I hope anybody who wants to get in touch with me, they can, and we have a big problem. Janice, I am putting you in charge of it. You are the queen that I know, and I would like you to start with you. Lucy, you are the other one. Mr. Frisbee, you are the other one. So I'm putting all of you. I'm asking all of you to help. And this is one of the things that you all can put together, make a big sound of it, make it New Jersey, Mercer County to be a big sound of it, and make the governor be aware of the situation. A lot of people in Mercer County, a lot of people in Robbinsville, a lot of people in our area are hungry, and they are not saying anything because of their pride, and they are trying to make ends meet. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Thank you for hearing me. I'm sorry it was not really about the environment that you put your passion into, but my passion is the people that are hungry and they need money to live. So I hope my voice carries somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nasheen, for bringing that up. And yeah, I hope our elected officials, they hear that loud and clear.
Yes,
I know
definitely.
people have told me stories. Yeah, I know people have told me stories, who I know in my personal life. So this is real. So we have to act on that and make sure that money gets out there. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and close it off and really just say thank you to all of you for coming. We had an excellent attendance today. Excellent speaker. We're doing great things, and just keep up the good work, and we'll see you in June. By the way, we are considering doing an in-person outdoor meeting. So if you have thoughts on whether or not you think that's a good idea or not, just get in touch with me personally. We'll have require masks for that.